So keeping the melody simplistic too, I find is, the last piece of the puzzle. You need to just grab someone and have the song resonate immediately. And it's not everyone can write a song like that. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Low End University. Story of My Life is from Social Distortion's third studio album, Social Distortion, released in 1990, and this self-titled album was also the band's major label debut. In fact, this is the album that really began to put the band on the map. It was the first to enter the Billboard 200, get extensive radio play, airtime on MTV, and it was thanks to a few singles, Story of My Life being one of them. Now, I'm told that if I'm discovering punk rock, as I have been for a while now, hearing Social Distortion is simply a must, and all of this wouldn't be complete without it. I've never heard this band before. I have read the band name before in the past, but I'm also learning that frontman Mike Ness is an excellent storyteller, and this song is about his life. And I'm reading, it's looking back wistfully on life, such as a love interest he had as a teenager, and how things have changed, and how quickly his life and the opportunity have passed him by. Certainly feels deep, a little bittersweet, and I think we can all relate to a lot of things about that. But without further ado, here's my first time hearing Social Distortion with Story of My Life. Melodic. Love those little melodies in the vocals before the verse starts. It just really sets up some beautiful melodic opportunity. I think we're tuned down in E flat. If not, we're kind of in the key of F sharp or G flat. That's 1, 4, 5 in that key. I mean, the three happiest chords there are within a key. So a really cool setup here. I'm also hearing a tad bit of like country, sort of rockabilly in the lead guitar, especially the tones and just some of those little like chicken picking kind of licks, that kind of stuff. So cool setup. Let me go back just a little bit. I'm curious to see if that melody is part of the lyrics once it comes in, but it was catchy setup. Story of My life. Okay.
Well, high school seemed like such a blur. I didn't have much interest in sports or school elections, and in class I dreamed all day about a rock and roll weekend. And a girl in the front of the room, so close yet so far, she never seemed to notice that this silly schoolboy crush wasn't just pretend.
There it is.
Life goes by so fast. You only wanna do what you think is right. Close your eyes and it's past. Story of my life.
Story of my life. I mean, it's certainly catchy. What I like about the bass line actually here is that, of course, it's simple, it's driving. I don't know what else it would really do, but within a 1-4-5 progression, you really want to let that melody kind of ring through with nothing else to distract it. But I like how the bass player here is breaking up the sections. And normally what happens when you have a song that has a repetitive chord progression, simply changing the octaves in your bass part kind of differentiates the section from one another. So if he was down here writing 1-4-5 the entire time, it starts to run together, but as a bass player, you can simply go up an octave or just change or invert how you're playing that bass line, and it becomes two different sections of the song, because I heard him go up to the one on the octave, so So I like those little subtle things that aren't anything mind-blowing or groundbreaking, but it's just smart writing, especially when you just want the song to come across as it is, face value, with nothing to really decipher beyond that. And I'm listening to the lyrics too, you know. High school seemed like such a blur. I didn't have much interest in sports or school elections. And in class, I dreamed all day about a rock and roll weekend. The girl in the front of the room, so close yet so far. I think it's just kind of like a rite of passage. And I think we all can look back and feel those little bittersweet moments of what might have been, not necessarily with another person, but just ambitions, careers, goals, or just thinking about people that are no longer with us, friends you no longer have. So I like the honesty, and I think if you've followed me for a while now, you'll know I'm not really a big lyrics guy. But punk rock has a lot to say. I find the lyrics really refreshing in the sense that they're very honest and raw. Even if it's about politics or the world or someone's life, very anecdotally, coming around and appreciating lyrics has been something that's happened since I've gotten into punk rock. I just find it to be, again, very, very believable. You know, I really buy what they're saying. So let me go back here, go into this kind of next verse out of the chorus. And, you know, coming back to these little hits here, this is such a driving song. So to break it up with these little sections to breathe, it's effective in the sense that it just kind of lets you kind of ruminate on what was just said. It's almost like just a pensive part of the song musically. Just a little breather here before back into it. Kind of dug in there on those notes, made them a little shorter. It's been kind of long notes in terms of the bass part. A little emphasis there. And the guitar is busied up a bit too. I obviously get that this is a simple song musically, but I'm always looking, no matter what band I'm reviewing, how is verse 1 different from verse 2? Because rarely they're ever the same, and every band adds energy and builds a little differently. And there's 1,000 ways you can do it, so I'm always listening for that coming into the second verse. What's different? How have they changed it? How are they building energy? Has the bass part changed? These are all things that run through my mind. Of course, the lyrics are particularly grabbing me here, going back to an old neighborhood and seeing how things have changed. You know, just to give you a brief story, that happened to me about 5 years ago. The childhood house I grew up in, my dad ended up selling it. You know, I'm in my 30s when this happens, and I think there's just something really, really emotional about it. And every now and then I'll still drive by and look at it, and just something about a house being sold that you came home from the hospital in, like I grew up in. It's like a part of your life is gone. So I kind of related to that line when it came up. And I don't know, it's very easy to get sucked into that emotional rabbit hole of a past life, past landmarks, past people. So I really like that angle on this song. It's a very honest, like, this is the story of my life. Nothing else to it. You can't go wrong with that. Now a 7-Eleven. See, there he is, kind of differentiated. It went up to another octave here. And when you play the same thing so repetitively, simply changing octaves is kind of a big deal right here.
I had no training, no experience to speak of, and I looked at the holes in my jeans.
Simple, effective. Super catchy. Yeah, the licks here and the guitar solo, just, they have a bit of that, I don't know if country's the right word, but just a bit of that rockabilly side, just the bluesiness, you know, those kind of licks, those tropes, and it just gives it a less rock feel, a more wider, accessible feel stylistically, because the first sound of this song I heard, it almost had like that Guns N' Roses Paradise City kind of sound. It's actually the same exact chord. You know, it has a bit of that, and obviously Guns N' Roses aren't country, but it just reminded me of that, just that blues sensibility within the guitars. Let me go back to where I was. I think guitar solo here. There we go. Yeah. Look at that stance. It looks uncomfortable. That does not look comfortable. This almost reminds me of what Elvis Costello was doing in the music video. I did an analysis on one of his songs a while back. Pump It Up. Sorry, it took a minute to come to me. All his foot movements and poses looked uncomfortable. This is certainly one of them. There's something really catchy about that melody. And the main lyrics don't necessarily follow it, but it's that beat it into your head, a couple simple notes. It almost falls into, as I talk about sometimes, the playground chants, the nursery rhymes. You look at the cadence and melodies of those classic nursery rhymes we all grew up knowing. They're so effective because of the cadence of the melody. It's a couple notes. It's easy to repeat back in one listen. And sometimes I find some bands take a whole different approach to melody that's a bit more cerebral. And while it might be a very good melody, it doesn't grab you immediately. And I feel like this is a band that might be about the immediacy of relatability, because everything they're doing here, there's nothing to dissect in terms of a deeper meaning. And sometimes that's really refreshing to hear as a listener. Lyrics that really grab me and make sense. The music makes sense. So keeping the melody simplistic too, I find is, the last piece of the puzzle. You need to just grab someone and have the song resonate immediately. And it's not everyone can write a song like that. More people would do it if it was possible. So I like that.
So I sit at the edge of my bed. I strum my guitar and I sing an outlaw song, thinking about what you're doing now and when you're coming back. Love goes by so fast. You only wanna do what you think is right.
It's so catchy. Just 1, 4, slide into the 6 to the 5. So it mimics the actual chord progression, goes up to the 6 for just an embellishment vocally. They have not deviated from that at all, and that's why it's going to be freaking stuck in my head.
Close your eyes and it's past. Story of my life. Story of my life. Story of my life. La, 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 la. Story of my life. The story of my life.
When I started this video series on the channel, my number one goal was to hear a variety of music with a focus on bass lines. And as we've gotten hundreds of songs in, I think I'm somewhere in the 200s now, I find it equally fun to dissect the craziest bass lines and equally fun to dissect the simplest of songs with great bass playing, even though it's not technically flashy. This is one of those songs. And, I've reviewed bands where my immediate reaction is I need to go hear that again to confirm the things I might have thought or heard on the first listen. Sometimes songs can be, pretty tough to digest at first. This is not one of them, and everything about what they just presented was completely relatable, accessible, and I thought the bass playing was still tasty. It held it down, subtle things to kind of break up the song, but just great driving, what a bass guitar is supposed to do in a song. But there's a lyrical line here that kind of hit me at the end that got me thinking just the power of storytelling. I'm a big Jim Croce fan, and I love his music because of the stories he tells. In fact, that might be one of my favorite lyrical artists to hear. But this lyric from this song was, "Life goes by so fast, you only want to do what you think is right." And it suggests this sort of innocence that we're all going through life doing our best, trying to get by, trying to get through another day. And I'm wondering if this is a song meant to be looked at happily or sadly, because the music's very upbeat. But I read that comment in the beginning about he's looking back on his life wistfully, in a bit of a pensive, more bittersweet way. But then we've talked about this dichotomy of happier music with more raw and sad-ish lyrics. So I love that they left that bit up to interpretation, and I think this song could hit everyone differently. And I was just told about the storytelling that goes on within this band's lyrics, so I made an extra point to read them as it happened. But that's been Social Distortion, and they sounded great. I definitely could see them being an integral part of the punk family tree. Come find us over on Patreon. This is the best way to support the channel. We have a great community that I'm very grateful for. Come join up and hang out. And if you enjoyed this video, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. I love you all, and we will see you in the next one.